clamoring
From what I can see,
for a multi-party state.
what I
And they
Gachagua
developed
had been organized
into a very big problem going forward. And dealing with it was a very costly affair.
that they won't use
From what I can see,
to manage politics.
and what I saw in the Muru, and what had been organized in Nakuru and in Molo,
Really destroyed vehicles belonging to
some people in government have sat down and
leaders
decided
are scared
that
of
they won't use criminal gangs to manage politics.
Right.
Disrupt meetings, scare leaders, like now they really destroyed vehicles belonging to members of parliament so that leaders are scared of going to meetings. Again, is a way of stifling dissent, because I think leaders who move around with me are very vocal about things that are not right in this country. And I think this is a way of trying to scare leaders. But I can tell you, that is not a situation that can go for long, because members of public will not allow it. And members of public will organize themselves, and they all say no. In fact, the people of Limuru are saying, had we known that this gang was coming, because there were outsiders, none came from that area. The people of Limuru are crying that they did not have information. They say they would have dealt with those characters.
We need to take this
so we want the
forward.
state to take over security, secure all meetings, stop using criminal gangs, and arrest those characters, because from the social media, from the videos, these characters are clearly defined and they are known, and people are even putting names to them because they know them. None has been arrested. Instead, because they want to harass the senator for Kiambu, Karungo Thangwa. Karungo Thangwa was a victim. I came with him. We came in the same convoy. He was attacked. His vehicle was attacked. And after the incident, he went to DCI headquarters to report this incident. They refused to listen to him. At 10 p.m. at night, they wrote him a letter summoning him to go to Nyeri. The crime happened in Limuru, in Kiambu. They are asking him to go to Nyeri. Yet, the local member of parliament, Mr. Kirago, recorded a statement at DCI headquarters. Why are you calling the senator of Kiambu to go all the way to Nyeri, yet the crime happened in Limuru?
Fair enough. You made your point, Your Excellency, and we need to take this conversation forward. But perhaps the last question about this political intolerance. This culture did not just start. Last year, when you were sitting squarely in office, and when the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition was running protests in the country, and instances in which you led the country because the president was out of the country at this particular time, we saw gangs, we saw people carrying sticks in the streets of Nairobi intending to deal with protesters who are democratically protesting. So is it that it sounds too harsh now that the heat is on you?
Let me correct you. That did not happen during the first protest of Azimio. That happened. The one for people carrying sticks happened during the Gen Z protests.
Even during the Azimio protests, we had people in the name of business, people protecting their places.
Let me say, during the Azimio protests, because at one time or another, the president was out of the country. And I was quite clear in my mind with our security apparatus that we must protect the CBD. Yeah? But the protests outside the CBD took on, because the right to protest is enshrined in the Constitution. But destruction of property in the CBD is what we stopped successfully, and it did not take place. Because, you know, this is a country of rule of law, and the work of a government is to protect life and property. You protect both lives and you also protect property. So what I do remember myself at that time, when the president was out of the country and I was left, is that we made sure that the property around CBD is protected. I have been very clear in this administration that we can never use criminal gangs to manage politics, to manage security, because it's not sustainable.
All right.
You create a monster that you cannot control, because after the event you have called those fellows to perform. What happens after that? They run amok, and since they feel that they have government protection, they operate with a lot of impunity. And that is a situation that one cannot control. Yes.
Your point is home, and we need to move on from this conversation. And Your Excellency, let's speak about a topic that many Kenyans right now want you to speak candidly about. And these are some of the policies and decisions taken by the Kenya Kwanza regime in the past 2 years. You are on record before you left office, in an interview with Citizen TV and in an interview with Vernacular, a Kalenjin station, stating that you knew nothing about Kenya's deal with Adani Group, be it JKIA and every other involved entity. You are on record after you were impeached in a church at AIPCA to say that you advised President William Ruto not to get into the Adani deal. One Gachagua who said, I was not aware, I was reading about this in the papers. The next Gachagua says, I advised the president.
I think you have listened to my address to the Kalenjin nation in piecemeal. If you listened to the whole speech, I said I know nothing about it in terms of I was not involved in the formulation of that policy. I was not involved in its implementation. That is why I meant I know nothing about it. Because if you are not, I was in government, I was deputy president, but I was not involved in the Adani deal to that extent. I went ahead to say, but Kenyans are opposed to it. Kenyans are speaking against it, and therefore I am against it. At that time, because I was in office, there is what you call the principle of collective responsibility. I was still the deputy president to President William Ruto. So there are certain things then I could not say, because I was still his deputy. There is still that, relationship. But later on, I have now the opportunity to say what I need to say. I have many things I can say now, but that time I was giving what I needed to give. And I said I was clearly, that matter did not come before the cabinet committee that I chair. It went straight to cabinet.
Were you in cabinet when it came to cabinet?
Yes, I was.
What discussions were there about Adani?
I cannot give discussions in cabinet because I'm still bound by the Official Secrets Act. I wouldn't diverge in detail as to what happened in cabinet because that would be irresponsible on my part. But what I can say is that I was opposed to it. And at my own time, privately, I was able to sit with the president and say this is not right. It's a rip-off to the people of Kenya. It is not tenable. And also, because I was elected, in our administration, I was the lone voice that would tell the president what anybody else cannot tell him. Because as an elected leader, you interact with the people. I also have serious political networks that are independent from the president that talk to me daily so that I get to know what is going on. And as principal assistant to the president and as his advisor, I took it upon myself, and it's a job I did that cost me heavily to always tell him the truth.
Excellency, allow me to interject because you have said that yes, you sat in cabinet and you cannot divulge issues discussed in cabinet. This is a matter in public. This is a matter already addressed by the head of state when he announced that cancellation at the National Assembly and the Senate when he made his State of the Nation address. You certainly owe it to the people of Kenya to tell them that this is what the country was getting into in Adani. Who was tasked to do what in cabinet, and how exactly was this deal reached? When was it signed? Those are the questions that Kenyans who are watching today want to understand.
I've told you clearly that nobody involved me. Had it come to the cabinet committee that I chair, I would have had all the details because that is a very exhaustive forum that I used to chair. I'll be able to get to know from the beginning to the end. But cabinet is basically formality. And certain things, president will decide they come direct to cabinet without coming to the cabinet committee.
So are you saying, because you gave us a track record of how many cabinet subcommittees you chaired while in office. This was at a time when some quarters were saying you did not perform as deputy president. Are you saying that in the many committees you hosted or you chaired of the cabinet, this did not come out?
Adani did not come.
Did the Social Health Authority come out?
Yes, it did.
In the subcommittees?
Yes, it did.
What was your position on it?
My position then, as it is today, is one, it was hurried. And there was no sufficient reason to move hastily from NHIF to the new program. And from my own reasoning, when I even looked at the mathematics surrounding that program, is that it would have cost us between 700 to 800 million to upgrade the system that was running the NHIF to make it compliant. Yet we are moving to a new program that is costing 104 billion shillings. And in my view, my very honest view, that's the crux of the matter. That is a rush. That is a focus, the 104 billion. And when you listen, Karanja, me, I'm a people's person. And probably many people thought that I'm a rebel within government. I was not a rebel. I was a deputy president of a popularly elected government that is answerable to the people. And in my view, we in government are the employees of the people. And the people are your employers. And their opinion counts. And you cannot dismiss what they think and what they feel. And that is why even members of parliament were accusing me of intimidating them when I told them to listen to the ground during the Finance Bill 2024. It's because myself, I do listen to the ground, and I take time to listen to what people are saying. If you listen now to patients, they are going through hell. One, in NHIF, you would pay 500 shillings for the whole family. Maybe say you have your wife, and maybe say 2 children like myself. 4 of us will pay 500 shillings for the ordinary people. Now, in this new program, it's each individual. So you find people having a problem with that. Number 2, you find that the private hospitals have not embraced this program. The program was rushed before all the stakeholders were brought on board. So you find that you have been deducted money in your payslip. Then when you go to a hospital of your choice, you cannot be treated. And that is the frustration that the people of Kenya are going through. And I am a very strong believer that your employer is ultimate. And the feeling of your employer is so central in whatever decision that you make.
In this case, the employer here are the people of Kenya.
The people of Kenya.
Your Excellency.
And if you find the people up in arms, and everybody is complaining, the stakeholders are complaining, Kenyans are complaining, you simply cannot ignore them and decide that you must do what you have decided because it's a government program. Because that government program is meant to benefit some people. And if the beneficiaries of that program are uncomfortable with its implementation, with its component, with the way it is being rolled out, you have a responsibility as a leader who is elected all the time to take into consideration the views of the people.
This responsibility you had when you chaired the cabinet subcommittees in which the shift from NHIF to SHA came. And for Kenyans who do not understand the workings of government, many of whom are watching today, you may need to tell them, if indeed it's true that you did not agree or you said it was rushed because it came to a cabinet subcommittee you chaired, how did it end up in the cabinet? You're the second most powerful person.
Cabinet will work on policies. The issue is not the policies, the implementation. In terms of timelines, in terms of the transition, it's now when to go to the respective ministry or department that the whole issue of implementation comes into question. And this is where I'm saying, in my view, the thing is rushed and there is no adequate public participation because the views of the public are not being taken into account. You can pass a very good policy, and there's nothing wrong with passing a good policy. But when you take it to the people, they have a different view. You have a responsibility to change your mind after listening to the people, because at the end of it all, they are the consumer of that policy. All these public policies are meant for the public. They are not for the bureaucrats who work around them. So when you do it, and probably you think you are doing it in good faith, and you think you have come up with a very good policy that can benefit the people. And when you roll out, and that's why public participation has become very instrumental in the new constitutional dispensation. You must ask the people, what do you think about this program? If there is a lot of resentment, if there is a lot of rejection, it behoves you as an administration to take into consideration the views of the people. I have seen an advisor in the president's office telling people that their children will not be allowed to go to school unless you register for this program. You know, that is coercion. That is intimidation. If something is good, Ibrahim, it is people who should be rushing to register. You know, a good package, something that is attractive, something that is beneficial to the people. You know, it is upon people to rush and do it. But if it reaches where you have to intimidate people and blackmail them, that unless you register for this program, your child will not be admitted to school, there is a problem somewhere. Why are you setting conditions?
Mr. Gachagua, what level of responsibility are you taking in this situation that we are in? You're speaking about a government that does not listen. You served in this government for close to 2.5 years. Are you surely lifting your hands and saying, I am not responsible for anything?
Karanja, you had the charges against me in the Senate. These are some of the charges that were brought against me. Insubordination. Because of saying, no, this is not right. I'm told I'm insubordinating the president. I was accused of not living to the principle of collective responsibility. Because in some instances, I would say, no, this is wrong. I've listened to the people, and this program is anti-people. So you cannot sit here and ask me to take responsibility when you know that some of the charges against me before the National Assembly and the Senate was that I went to the side of the people. I'm a people's person.
Charges which you, through your lawyers, completely refuted.
That's what I'm saying. I said, like, we were told to go and supervise the demolition of homes along Nairobi River. And I said, no. And I said that is not insubordination. That is doing the right thing. Because, one, a government should not be at war with the citizens. We had made a commitment as the Kenya Kwanza administration that if we are elected to office, we will not have brutal evictions and inhuman relocation of citizens. And here I'm being told to do it. And I say, no, I will not do it. And I was defending that charge to say what I did is the right thing, because even if you look at the UN Charter, there are certain ways how you relocate people. So I have gotten where I am today because in many instances, I refuse to betray the people of Kenya.
Fair enough.
I refuse to betray the people of Kenya. And what is not right, I said it's not right. And where people had a big problem with a program, I will tell Mr. President, the people have a problem with this
Fair
program.
enough. You have mentioned that the crux of the matter, and I'm sorry for taking you back, but it's really important that you bring it out. The crux of the matter on SHA is 104 billion shillings that was being used for the system. What do Kenyans need to know about this?
Kenyans need to speak out.
They need to speak out about something they know
104 billion shillings, Karanja. It's not 104 shillings. It's serious money. And experts have told me that it was possible to improve the existing system that was in NHIF at a cost of between 7 to 800 million. Here we are spending over 100 billion. And from where I sit, when I look at the whole rush of this SHA shift thing, it is because of this 104 billion. That is where the issue is.
And because in this you were in cabinet, who was tasked in handling this? Who was tasked?
The Ministry of Health. Again, the president works here as a team of economic advisors who do most of the work with him before things can come to cabinet. This is where all these details were worked out. And you have heard that even people in that economic advisory council, their spouses are involved in that system. There is clearly a conflict of interest, and the whole thing is not straight. And that is why Kenyans are agitated. Why would you want to spend 104 billion shillings on a system that is not necessary? It was quite okay to improve the existing one, between 7 to 800 million to do the same purpose. So you can see some people somewhere, are conflicted. And that is why the rush. Because for this 104 billion to come out, the thing needs to be rushed.
Who are the platform providers on SHA? Because I have seen documents from the Ministry of Health that indicate that for every amount that SHA will be paying for each procedure done or for each service offered, some amount will be heading or directed to a platform provider.
I think 25% or something like that.
Who are these platform
I don't
providers?
know. I was not involved. Nobody involved regarding Gachagua. I was not involved in the procurement. I was not involved in the conceptualization of this SHA thing. I was just there. And that's why I'm saying many times I was being told, President said that I failed to defend. He said when he was unveiling his deputy, he accused me of having left him alone to defend government programs and failed to support him to defend government programs. But how do I defend things I don't know, Karanja? I can't go to defend that SHA thing. The use of 104 billion, I would be out of my mind to come to television to support something that, in my view, is ridiculous, and which from every perspective is pure theft of public funds. I cannot defend such things. I was being told to defend Adani. You know, I said one day I was in a funeral somewhere in Trans Nzoia, and I think the senator for Kisii, Richard Onyonka, came very hard on government because of Adani. And I was the last to speak, and I said nothing about the issue. So one of people around the president called me and really abused me, that government was being attacked and you did not defend. How do I defend theft? I cannot defend corruption. I am a man of integrity. And much as probably the president says that I did not defend government programs, he is right to a certain extent. I defended the ones that were above board. Anything, I did the alcohol program, I worked on it. Registration of farmers for fertilizer program, I defended, I worked on it to the last day. Coffee reforms, I defended. Tea reforms, I defended. Anything that was above board, that was in public interest, I defended. But issues of corruption, issues of theft of public funds, I could not go and defend. And he must forgive me. I asked President William Ruto to forgive me. I'm sorry, my former boss. Adani, I could not help you to defend. SHA, I could not afford. I could not help you to defend. If the deputy you have picked can defend theft and corruption, let him go ahead. Because he is not elected, he is your person. So he's answerable to you. But me, I was elected. I have the mandate of the people. And therefore, I'm answerable to some people. So I could not go and defend something that is anti-people because I'm elected by the people. You know that this is where the difference between me and the current deputy president is. He is an appointee of President William Ruto. He must defend religiously anything the president says and wants because that is his employee. I was not an employee of President William Ruto. I was an employee of the people of Kenya. It was therefore right for me to fail to defend anything that is anti-people.
All right, Your Excellency, 2 weeks ago, or less than 2 weeks ago, President William Ruto made an address to the National Assembly and the Senate about the state of the nation, and he was giving progress about where the country is. This progress was for a period in which you served as deputy president. What is your honest view of what the state of our nation is today?
Well, the president spoke about the fertilizer program, which admittedly is a success. And I took part. I worked with it with the president. And in fact, one day, a minister came and presented to the president a bill of about 1.8 billion to distribute fertilizer. And I happened to be there. And I told the president, this is theft. You know, he was saying, for us to distribute fertilizer in Kenya, we need to hire a firm to ensure that the fertilizer reaches the farmers. And he was giving like 300 shillings per bag. So we calculated with the president, and the bill would have been like 1.8 billion. And I did suggest to the president that we could register farmers using the officers of the National Government Administration, and he was agreeable. And he asked me to oversee the exercise, which I did successfully. And within 2-3 weeks, we had registered 5 million farmers. And that program is very, very successful. Again, the issue of the strengthening of the Kenyan shilling, that again is successful. Again, the employment of the teachers, 52,000 teachers, give credit where you do, that is true. But there are issues he talked about. The economy has improved. There is growth, there is less inflation, all those figures. From where I sit, because I told you I was around during Moi time, I was around during Kibaki's time, I was there during Uhuru's time, I'm there during Ruto's time. For you to know whether the economy is successful, you don't need figures. Just ask Wananchi, they will tell you. If you ask people who have been around through those 4 governments, they will tell you that the economy improved during the tenure of Mwai Kibaki. Those are they are the best indicators. Forget about these figures and percentages. Those are theories and statistics done at the Treasury, growth of 2.7%, I don't know. Those are okay. But if you want to know how the economy is performing, just talk to the ordinary people. Karanja, you live with this country. Talk to the people.
What is your view?
I'm asking you. Talk to the people.
You served in this government for half time.
We are not talking about the government now.
We are asking. We are talking about
I'm telling you,
Your Excellency,
the best people to give you an indication about the performance of the economy are the people of Kenya. And from what they tell me every day, they don't think we are making any progress. They think we are doing very badly. And at the end of it all, they are the owners of this country. They are the people we work for. So what they think and what they feel is the most important. And any time there is improvement in the economy, the people will feel it. There will be improvement in business. There will be improved cash flow, employment. All those benefits will tag along with an improvement of the economy. And I can tell you, from where I sit, Kenyans are crying. One, for taxation. I was with a police officer who told me all those things that were happening, because even them, they are very unhappy looking at his payslip, the deductions. All the people with the payslips are very unhappy because the deductions are not corresponding to the service. Like now, this money for SHA and SHIF, people are deducted. When you go to hospital, there is no service. Again, we had a problem with the Finance Bill 2023 about taxation of primary agricultural produce, avocado, macadamia. So you find people have a problem. If you go to the small traders in Nairobi, in fact, if you go to Nairobi, Karanja, I would like you to take your cameras and yourself and go around. Most of the shops are closed down. There's no business. And that's a clear indication. If you want to know how the economy is going, go downtown to Nairobi, go to River Road, go to Taveta Road, go to Accra Road, go to Nyamakema, and you find most shops are closed. In fact, shops used to pay goodwill of 3 million. You are being called by the landlord, please take this shop.
All right.
There's no goodwill. Pay us whatever rent you can afford when you have it, but have the place opened. So I can say that we are not doing well. Those figures the president said, fine, those are figures. But listening to the people of Kenya, moving around the country, moving around downtown, we are not doing very well.
And why did we not do well in the 2 years of Kenya Kwanza? During your inauguration, you clearly stated that you took a country that had a dilapidated economy. However, you were stably on the steering wheels with President William Ruto for 2.5 years, and you're giving us a track record that the economy is bad. Why is the country still having a bad economy while you and President Ruto led it for 2.5 years?
I think you would have to take time to look for President William Ruto and ask him that question, because he chairs the Economic Council that advises him. I never used to attend that session. All decisions on the economic interventions are done by that team that is chaired by the president. For all of us Ours was just to follow what has been decided at that forum. Okay? Even if we disagreed with it, that decision was final. So at the right time, look for the president and ask him that question.
What you're telling us is not what you used to tell us as deputy president.
I was the first year, I was very clear that we inherited a difficult country. We inherited an economy that was doing very badly, and we needed to be given time to work on it. And I was so persuaded and so motivated to be part of that, until along the way I found that I am not involved in any of those decisions at all. Mine is to carry out what has already been decided without an input at my level. And that is why I was being accused of not defending government programs. And I have given you the reasons that you can only defend that which you are part of. But if you are not part of that decision, if you are not part of that program, if your input has not been sought, if your views have not been incorporated, then it will be very difficult for you to defend that particular program.
Yet from how it looked when you were in public, it appeared like you are deeply involved in every decision.
The first year, yes.
Up to some point,
the second year, you saw me keep quiet on all those things.
Let me ask you a direct question. What is your opinion on the housing levy that was introduced on Kenyans on the Finance Bill of 2023, Finance Act of 2023?
To be truthful to you, I have told the president countless times that the people of Kenya do not want a housing program. The people of Kenya are of the view that building houses should be left to the private sector. They revisit the tenure of President Mwai Kibaki. President Mwai Kibaki opened the bypasses, built the roads, installed electricity and sewage. And then the houses just came up. Just go through the bypasses, so that you also allow the private sector to thrive. Again, people are of the view that housing is a very personal thing, and people should be allowed to build their own houses at their own time. And that is why you find, many people are not able to tell the president that truth. Many people are not able to tell him that truth. And that is why you found the other day when he was in Embu, he went to talk about that housing and people told him, no, we don't want it. Because it's reaching there, because you see what is happening to Kenyans. They find everybody else has failed them. MPs are not talking for them. Nobody is talking for them. Then they are left on their own now to address the president directly. It was very unfortunate because that shouldn't happen ordinarily, where people are shouting at the president. It's not right. It was very awkward for me. But people have reached there because he was talking about housing so passionately to people who believe it is not right, And many a times I told the president, Your Excellency, I've talking to many people. Professionals are talking to me. Business people are talking to me. Church people are talking to me. People think that we should concentrate on completing the projects that we inherited from President Uhuru Kenyatta. The Mau roads, the bypasses, all roads that are going on, irrigation dams, provide rural electrification. The people of Kenya feel that is what is a priority. Again, the people wanted us to pay the pending bills, which is about 900 billion. They felt that the issue of housing is really not a priority, and it's a very individual thing, and they feel that it should be left to the private sector, And myself, Karanja, I'm a people's person. Once the people are of that opinion, that becomes my automatic opinion.
And that automatic
the president was accusing me of not going to launch housing. It's one of the things repeatedly he would accuse me of. Wewe Rigi unisaidii kwenda kufungua manyumba nini? Mwambia hii manyumba watu wataki boss. Sasa mimi sitaki kupigana na raia. Unajua hii wananchi ndio wametuajiri kazi. Mwambia rais, tumeajiriwa kazi na hii watu. Sasa hii kitu ya manyumba hii hawataki. Hata tukijaribu kuwaambia, they are not interested. Because even many times I would go with the president, and he would start speaking. Normally, he would take between 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the mood he's in and how the crowd is and the reception. So with the time I had studied how long he takes. So once he starts and I decide that he'll take 25 minutes, I would go and mix with the people when we are launching those projects. They would clearly just say they are not interested.
Mr. Gachagua, you're telling us that most of the advices you gave, you're saying you gave an opinion about SHA,
Yes.
it was never heard. You gave an opinion about the housing levy, it was never heard nor implemented.
It wasn't.
Then why did you insist on serving for that long? Why didn't you resign?
Well,
you were in a government
Yes.
that clearly didn't want to heed your advice as the president's principal assistant.
Well, President William Ruto had not given me the job, so I was given by the people of Kenya. And there were a few things that I was doing that were okay. I was quite busy and happy to do the coffee reforms. I was quite happy to do the tea reforms. I was very happy to do reforms in the data sector.
Which you claimed were eventually sabotaged by Parliament. Up until recently.
But there was something that I was doing. I was working on the ACO program, and I felt there were a few things that I could continue doing that were beneficial to the people of Kenya. And since I had been employed by the people of Kenya, I could not leave the job simply because I'm not being listened to, because there were a few things on my own that I was doing quite successfully.
It would have been insincere, because you are saying even once you the work you did was sabotaged. You're saying you are given the job by the people of Kenya and you could not leave.
No, it was by the work I was doing was going very well until a decision was made to get rid of me, and then people now started sabotaging the programs that I was doing, like the alcohol program I was doing was very successful. I did very serious meetings at the coast, at Eastern, at Central, at Rift Valley, and working with all the stakeholders in the security sector, KRA, KEBS, and everybody else, who were able actually to bring sanity in the villages in terms of drug and alcohol abuse. And my spouse, Pastor Dorcas, was also doing a different program and our office on addiction and rehabilitation. And it was working very well. And I was saying, even if I did nothing else, I was quite happy to remain as deputy president to do that program. But along the way, when a decision was made that I must leave office by way of impeachment, that decision was made about a year ago. So it's been a long struggle for a year. That is when it was decided that I must be removed from office because I'm stubborn, because I'm asking too many questions, because I'm not defending corruption, because I'm not defending programs that cannot be defended. And that is when it started now interfering. The coffee subsector, money that had been voted for the cherry fund, about 4 billion, they only listed 500 million so that I can fail, so that then they can blame me of not working on the coffee sector.
All right.
You know, people like the KTDA, was involved in the fertilizer program, subsidization of fertilizer for tea, and money was never released so that I could fail. Those things happened the last 1 year. The first 1 year we worked well. I think the last year is when the president decided that I'm too much. He cannot control me. I'm asking too many questions. I'm not a yes-sir person. I am difficult. I'm stubborn, in his own words. I'm erratic and all those things he would say. That is when now the good programs that I was doing that were very successful were sabotaged.
You've made your point. Let's now speak about the current situation. We are at a season where we are seeing you actively rallying up the Mount Kenya region. What is your
Kenya is a country made of communities and regions. And in our politics, since the advent of multipartyism, no region can govern this country on its own. It's always people coming together and they agreeing on what to do. And all politics is local. Much as I'm a national leader, as you come to the national table, you must come from somewhere and you must bring something on the table. So I come from the Mount Kenya region that President William Ruto asked me to help galvanize to support him. And I did successfully. And he got 87% of the vote. And from where I sit, from the history of that region, whenever it has been divided, it has always gone to the opposition. Any one time it has been united, it has always been part of government, either as a king or the kingmaker. And we learned many lessons in 1992 when we got divided into Ford Asili and DP, and 1997. So from 2002, 2007, 2013, 2017, 2022, we were united. So as a deputy president and as a senior leader from that region, I took it upon myself to unite the region for its relevance in the national political discourse, so that when we engage other Kenyans, we engage from a position of strength and respect. And one of the issues that we disagreed with the president was my refusal for him to create division in the mountain, because the president wanted to have counties that he would control directly without the center. And I saw danger in that politically for the region in future. And I was telling him, no, we can't divide the mountain. The mountain supported you as one. It should remain as one. And I started that agitation to unite the mountain successfully. And at a certain point, I think he was advised that it is possible to divide the Mount Kenya east and west. And they tried to do that, but it cannot work. And I'm sure the day we were in Embu, he went home knowing that the mountain is one. In fact, the leaders who were there who were cheered wildly were from the west by the people of the east, President Uhuru Kenyatta and I. And there was somebody from the east. The mountain is one. So going forward, even as I'm out of office, I have a responsibility as a leader from that region to continue working on our unity, to continue telling our people that their relevance in the national political discourse will be informed by their unity of purpose. And I'm very happy that the ordinary people from that region are united to a man. And the division is only at the leadership level, because there's interference from other people from outside. But the ordinary people are one.
So with this information, then what does your future hold? Are you seeking to unite the mountain so that you can get to join, to form coalitions? Are you seeking to unite the mountain?
Not necessarily. I'm just being responsible as a leader from the area, because the region looks upon me to guide on how we move on. After this impeachment, there was a lot of confusion and disquiet. Now, what happens to the region? Where are we moving from here? So I have a responsibility to put our people together. And I don't need to be deputy president to do that. I'm a leader who is accepted in that region and loved by the people of that region, because they know me and they believe in me. And I am consulting a lot. I am not working alone. We are talking with other political leaders. We are talking with other political parties. We are talking to church leaders. We are talking to professionals. We are talking to business people. We are talking to the young people. And this consultation is very extensive. It will take this December and the bigger part of January. I'm sure early February we'll have come up with something we can give to our people.
You've said you're talking with other political leaders, yes. And there has been talk out there that you are headed to join forces with Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, Natembea, and those.
I think people are jumping the gun. Kalonzo Musyoka and Eugene Wamalwa are great leaders of this country, and definitely we can work together. Absolutely. And of course, myself and the people of the mountain were very happy with the stand Kalonzo Musyoka took during the impeachment to stand with me. And our people are normally very grateful people. They remember good deeds. And we have listened to what Kalonzo is saying, and we like what he is saying. So there are opportunities that we can always work together. And in fact, there was a cultural meeting between the Gikuyu, the Embu, and the Meru, and the Akamba, trying to coin something that they work together. And I want to encourage, that's a very good discussion, because the Akamba people are our cousins. In fact, it's unfortunate we had not been talking earlier, but God's timing is always the best. So, but we have not agreed on any alliance with anybody. What is happening is that leaders who are like-minded talk with each other. But before we can even come to that, you cannot go to discuss with other people before you put your house in order. We need to put our house in order. And the mountain, we made serious mistakes.